Have you ever wondered why economies go through periods of boom and bust? This question has puzzled economists and policymakers alike. The fluctuation in economic activity is a natural part of the capitalistic system. The high and low tides of economic performance are not random. They are part of what is known as the debt cycle. The debt cycle is a powerful tool that explains the ebb and flow of economies. It's a theory that describes the accumulation, growth, and eventual decline of debt. This cycle significantly influences the health and resilience of any economy. Turn our attention to the early part of the cycle. This is the recovery phase where we see low debt levels and robust growth. This is the point where the economy is dusting itself off and picking up steam after a downturn. The scars from the previous recession are healing, and optimism is in the air. Businesses are not only recovering, but they are also actively investing, creating jobs and fostering economic growth. It's a period of significant expansion and blossoming prosperity. A vivid illustration of this phase can be seen in the United States during the mid-20th century. Specifically, the 1950s and 1960s were decades of incredible growth and prosperity. The economy was flourishing, and the nation was experiencing a period of remarkable growth and prosperity. These cycles of growth and contraction are what shape the economic history of countries. Understanding them is key to understanding why prosperity seems to always be followed by periods of recession or even depression. It all comes down to the debt cycle. The economy was booming and the country was in a period of significant growth and prosperity. Next, we have the bubble phase. This is a crucial period in the economic cycle where optimism and trust in the general financial system significantly augment. This gradual increase in confidence is not abruptly seen, rather it's a progression that develops over time. As the individual's trust in the economy escalates, consequently, their debt levels start to escalate as well. This phase is characterized by surges borrowing, fueled by the belief that the economy is on an upward trajectory. Alongside this, there's a marked rise in speculative investment. This is where investors are willing to take higher risks in the hope of achieving higher, based on the prevailing economic optimism. It's an intriguing period reflected by a considerably amplified economic activity as the markets become more and more volatile. One of the most noteworthy instances of this phase is the US housing bubble that took place in the early 2000s. Incident serves as a textbook case of what transpires during a bubble phase. People, emboldened by the thriving economy, were buying houses which were way beyond their financial capabilities. Banks and financial institutions were extending loans indiscriminately to virtually anyone who had a heartbeat. The market was thriving. It was a bustling activity of economic transactions driven by collective euphoria, and the market was on fire. Following the bubble, we advanced towards the top. This peak, a critical juncture in the economic cycle, signifies a period when the economy is notably inflated. Various sectors are booming and the marketplace is buzzing with activity. At this stage, debt levels soar to staggering heights, creating a precarious bubble that teeters on the edge of bursting. This phase, while promising and seemingly prosperous, is often characterized by a precarious instability which is largely ignored due to the prevailing optimism. A palpable tension permeates the atmosphere, ignored by most but sensed by some. It is indeed the calm before the storm. This climactic point economic boom is demonstrated vividly by the US stock market in 1929. During this time, stocks had climbed to a record high. Optimism was in the air, and investors were swept up in a frenzied buying spree. The public, entranced by the allure of easy wealth, believed that this era of prosperity was endless. There was a widely held belief that the good times were here to stay, and the economy would continue to flourish indefinitely. The rapid expansion, however, was unsustainable. Many dismissed the signs, confident in their financial security and the strength of the economy. Yet, in the end, like all bubbles, it was destined to burst. They were wrong. Then comes the depression phase. This phase serves as the point where inflated optimism and unreasonable asset prices burst like a bubble, leading to a severe fall in asset values across the board. It ushers in a period of sharp and pronounced contraction in economic activity, causing a ripple effect that distresses multiple sectors of the economy. The Great Depression of the 1930s stands as the most infamous, stark, and calamitous instance of this phase. During that time, the world witnessed unprecedented levels of unemployment, as both blue and white-collar jobs vanished overnight. Financial institutions, which serve as the backbone of economic activity, crumbled and failed, unable to withstand the strain. The economy suffered, contracting at an alarming, unprecedented rate. This phase echoes the grim reality of economic cycles that, when left unchecked, can lead to catastrophic consequences. Unemployment soared, banks failed, and the economy contracted at an alarming rate. But after every storm, there's a rainbow. What follows is the beautiful deleveraging phase, a period of recovery and rebirth that comes immediately after the storm, that is the depression. This phase, like the calm after a tempest, symbolizes a period of renaissance and revival. The economy begins its journey to recovery, shaking off the burdens of the past while looking forward to a promising future. During this phase, the shackles of debt that once weighed heavy start to reduce. Economies weary from the past start to stand tall again, striking a harmonious balance between income growth and inflation, thereby signifying the beginning of their financial redemption. A great example of this is the American economy during the post-World War II period. The war had ended. It was a period of reformation and renewal. The country's economy had taken its first step towards growth and was finally on its journey to recovery. The U.S. post-World War II period is a testament to this phase. The war had ended, the economy was growing again, and the country was on the path to recovery. But sometimes the economy can get stuck in a phase referred to as pushing on a string. In economic terms, this phrase is used to depict a circumstance where the central monetary authority, commonly known as the central bank, makes a calculated effort to stir up economic activity by resorting to a well-known strategy, the reduction of interest rates. The expectation here is that this action would spur major players in the economy to take loans, invest more, and thereby instigate overall economic growth. However, contrary to these expectations, there may be instances where the reduction of interest rates fails to spur increased borrowing or investment from public. In such situations, despite the central bank's best attempts, the economy doesn't budge and continues to remain in a state of stagnation. A perfect illustration of this scenario can be seen in Japan's economic landscape during the period of the 1990s and 2000s. This was a time when, regardless of the strenuous efforts put forth by the bank to stimulate economic activity, the economy remained unresponsive and stagnant for years. Finally, we reach the ultimate stage, the normalization phase. This pivotal phase is where the economy makes a much-anticipated return to a state of equilibrium, characterized by balanced growth and manageable debt levels. It's a phase where economies find their footing after tumultuous times, regaining stability and setting a course towards steady, sustainable growth. An exemplary instance of this phase can be observed in the history of the U.S. during the middle of 20th century, a period often referred to as the post-war boom. The economy during this era was stable, with growth rates that were steady and robust. This was a time when the nation was rebuilding. Growth was fueled by innovation and technological advancements, leading to prosperity on a scale never seen before. Moreover, during this phase, debt levels were not just manageable, but were at their most sustainable. The government policies were geared towards reducing the debt burden, fostering an environment that encouraged economic growth without spurring uncontrollable inflation. This encapsulates the underlying essence of the 7 phases of the debt cycle. Each phase, distinct, unique, defines the economic landscape at that point in time. The characteristics, challenges, and opportunities of each phase vary, making them interesting to study and understand. Understanding these phases and the transitions them can be of great value. It provides a roadmap to navigate the often unpredictable economic landscape, and if used wisely, can help us mitigate risks and potentially avoid the worst of the downturns. So, there you have it. The 7 phases of the debt cycle. Each phase is unique with its own characteristics and challenges. But understanding these phases can help us navigate the economic landscape, and maybe, just maybe, avoid the worst of the downturns.